Well, welcome to the weekend. Ben, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you very much.
Have you got much planned for the weekend?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe going onto my balcony at some point.
As long as you do it before 8 o'clock.
Are you not allowed on your balcony? Don't tell me that, please. Well, let's go straight into it. What are the new restrictions? This is what we do every week now.
Yep.
So, what are the new changes?
Attention, citizen. The new restrictions are as follows. People only with the surname beginning with A to K can shop in shops beginning with M to Z.
Make sure you're wearing a blue hat.
Yeah. So we have, what can't we do now? Pretty much, we can't do all the things we already weren't allowed to do. But now, non-essential businesses and activities are closed down from 8 p.m. in the evening in the region of Aragon.
What does that mean? Non-essential?
Non-essential effectively means if you are not it's quite a strange list. So non-essential, it's easier just to go with the essential stuff. So essential services are basic necessity shops, which is food, beverage, and basic hygiene items and personal hygiene items, pharmacies, health centres, veterinary surgeries, and shops that provide pet food. Very important. Further include florists, essential, tobacconists, essential, kiosks that sell press, essential. All of these things apparently are essential. Hardware stores, stationery and bookstores, hairdressers, home delivery service has to be included because that now is essential. Dry cleaners, laundries, hairdressers, beauty salons, machine shops, livestock centres, construction and repair centres, and vehicle inspection stations.
Okay, so I can get my hair done and buy some flowers and some pencils.
Yeah,
can I gamble?
No, you're not allowed to gamble.
Oh.
All gambling and betting premises remain closed. A lot of our listeners are English teachers. English academies, as a non-regulated educational centre, can maintain their current timetable with a maximum capacity reduced to 30%, providing the activity does not include physical activity, for example, dance or karate.
Yeah, the gyms and indoor sports facilities have been
closed.
You
are allowed to do outdoor sport, and that can extend further than 8 o'clock, apparently, as we understand it. There is somewhat a degree of confusion as to whether you have to wear masks if you are participating in sport, which is more than an individual.
Yeah, as I understand, if you're running, for example, or cycling, and you're
individual,
alone,
you're okay.
You don't have to wear a mask. Yeah.
But the wording is a little bit unclear as to whether you have to wear a mask if you are if you're doing an activity that's more than one person. So I'm looking for clarity and clarification on that one. Also, there seems to be this kind of catch-all clause that events that start before 8 o'clock are allowed to go through to termination. So we're talking about if films or a theatre show starts before 8 o'clock,
7:59,
for example, they can go through to their finish time. But it seems the reaction from cinemas and theatres locally is just not worth it.
Yeah, well, with the capacity, I mean...
Capacity down to 25%, and with a curfew of 11, if you've got a film starting at 8, at 8, for example, that's 90 minutes, and you're pushing your luck for why would people bother?
Yeah.
Considering the local government has really stressed they really want people to only go out for the bare essentials, like coming to your friend's house to record a podcast.
Finally, I understand that the curfew has been extended.
That is true. The curfew is maintained as was and has been extended under the state of alarm powers until the 30th of November. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk during the week of national lockdown. A series of ministers and vice presidents have trotted out to say, no. The current restrictions are fine. But then they've also said we will evaluate them on around about November the 9th.
Yeah,
was
the 9th,
date that keeps getting mentioned. So stay posted to see if we get some further instructions as to how that's going to go. I mean, to be honest, outside of Aragon, the autonomous regions are actually going further. Yeah, Aragon has left our hostelry sector in a possibility of remaining open, whereas other regions are locking down their hostelry sector completely, and also making pleas to the local population to only go out for essential items or essential work, which is basically what we've been told to do here in Aragon. So we'll see. The current decree here in the local region has said they retain the authority to adjust that timetable.
It's enough to drive you to drink, really, isn't it? And that's exactly what's been happening with the youth of Zaragoza.
Do go on.
The Maños and Maños they've found a kind of a cheeky loophole to get around the curfew situation on the weekend. They're not getting their social hit, so they're renting Airbnb apartments around the city so they can have a booze up on the weekend.
I think that's a little unfair, Ben. I think they could well just be getting together to have a cup of coffee and a chat.
Well, yeah, of course, that's true. There have been noise complaints from some of these meetings that have spilled over into a bit of a party.
And they're the ones that have been broken up. And there was an example around the period of Pilares where police surveillance uncovered, and get this, I cannot believe I'm going to say this sentence out loud without any hint of irony, an unlicensed party.
Oh gosh, yeah, this is the world we live in.
This is where we live.
People having fun, unlicensed fun.
Do you have a license for that fun? Yeah,
exactly.
They broke up a party where people were not observing social distancing and not wearing masks. 19 people in the same flat. But people who run flats for hire or tourist apartments say, there's no rules being broken if they stay within the maximum of 6 people, or the capacity for the flat if it's underneath 6 people. And the vast majority of these events are going completely unnoticed.
Yeah, there's
because
a lot of
they're
them
being nice and quiet.
Yeah, there's a lot of them happening. It's just people getting together and socialising. However,
well, the one interesting point I wanted to raise was as the interview in Heraldo, the local newspaper, did point out that one of these guys pointed out. He said, we've had a boost from people who live out of the city who have taken up sort of temporary residence within the city zones to avoid having to go backwards and forwards across city lines with the current perimeter lockdown. But he also said that they've had a significant boost in business. Not a great deal, but their major part of their business is, are you ready for this, Ben?
Go on, I'm prepared.
Couples looking for a bit of privacy during the day. They simply, because they can't get out to the mountains or out of the city, they want to spend the day together, have lunch in a quiet period of time before returning back to their individual houses.
So they go,
in the evening.
dump the kids at the nursery.
No,
I don't
really think. I don't really think that that's really happening.
Yeah, well, you might say that.
When you're talking about maybe only €40 to rent a tourist flat for the weekend or for a night in some parts of the city centre at the moment.
Just you wait. In 9 months' time, there's going to be a lot of COVID babies. That's all I'm saying.
Babies.
I was looking at some of the comments underneath this article, which was originally printed in the Heraldo, and the general response was quite violent.
Forceful. Yeah.
There's a lot of people very angry about. There seems to be this kind of demonisation of the youth at the moment. It's all the young,
which is a strange inversion of the last 4 years in Britain, where it's been the demonisation of the old.
I'm gonna read some of these out. So I won't use any surnames, but a chap called Christian said, "That's what we must do with the irresponsible people like these." I'm translated this from Spanish, so it doesn't quite make sense. Fines that their grandchildren are still paying is what they should be charged with.
Oh wow! I mean, we both understand that's hyperbole.
Let's financially
cripple them for having a drink with their friends on a Saturday night.
It's the only way they'll learn.
So much that their grandchildren are still paying for it.
Mariano,
he
takes it a little bit further. It gets worse. I've done a direct translation because it's so funny. The direct translation. It doesn't make any sense. There is a little bit of swearing in there. So if anyone's listening with their children, cover their ears. Somewhere they will have to take the fuck if the monkey does not enter them. I'll do the Spanish version. En algún lugar tendrán que cogerlas. I don't know this word. Cogortas, si no les entrará el mono.
Okay, if you want to put some comments in the comment section on YouTube or even on our webpage or even on Facebook, if you want to pass a comment on Ben's Spanish, or what that word means, strange. Maybe Ben's translation is a bit rummed off.
One more comment. I was looking for positivity. There weren't any. I suppose this isn't an attack on the youth, so it's a little bit lighter. This is from Germán. He said, they follow the great example of the politicians. It was just in the news that 150 of them were having dinner and celebrating I don't know what.
That definitely deserves comment of the week.
Yeah, well done. Congratulations.
Unquestionably. Just to respond to a question that we had been asked a few times, autónomos, self-employed, can provide their own justificante. You basically have to provide on a document your address, your DNI, your CIF, your CIF number, and evidence of your autonomo payments. And explain, then in the letter say, I am required to travel to this address, to this place, to do this work.
So maybe a receipt of your cotización?
Exactly, for example.
I have not said that correctly, have I? Oh, we'll get letters. Definitely.
But yeah, you can self-certificate your ability to pass the line, so to speak, if people are still having that trouble.
And if you do get stopped by the police and your Spanish isn't very good like mine, don't worry, because Spanish is no longer the official language of the state.
Ben, this is why I pay you decent butterflies. Links like that cannot be bought. Please do go on.
Yeah. Well, it's been declassified. This went through the courts this week.
No, not the courts.
Not the courts. Sorry, the Congress.
Congress, yes.
By a vote of 26 against 16, that Spanish is no longer the official language of the state. What does that mean?
That I mean, that's a powerful headline, unquestionably, but it effectively is true. What it means is there's been some shenanigans going on.
Oh, shenanigans
in the politics. Basically, the education bill that's become law, that's being proposed by the current government, has had some amendments that have removed certain language from the wording. This effectively means that the idea that the language is a bit strange. It says that Spanish is the vehicular language of education.
Surely vehicular.
Vehicular, if you're American, yeah. Effectively, what that means is the primary or the default language of the state, of the region. And it applies significantly to education. This has come into force, obviously, if you understand Spanish party politics at the moment, the PSOE, who are in government, have a minority government and therefore are required to keep the separatist or nationalist parties in different parts of Spain sweet so they can win votes to push through their agenda. And this has been one of the paybacks. It's certainly what the opposition parties have accused them of.
To win the votes from the co-official language of the region, right?
Yeah, so effectively what they've done is devolve power for education matters in terms of how the language is used. What is referred to as the immersion program, effectively that means, for example, in Catalonia, that the only time that the Spanish language is used is when they are teaching Spanish.
Oh, sorry.
So everything else is in Catalan. And so they've basically upped the status of co-official languages and denied that they have relegated Spanish, but clearly the opposition parties and some are Spanish nationalists, should we say, for want of a better phrase, are enraged. Meanwhile, just to add insult to injury on this latest legislation, they have also made public finance or public support, financial support for single-sex schools concertada schools that are single sex no longer will receive any public support in terms of money.
There's a great quote there.
And there is a squeeze. There is a squeeze as well on the way. But again, they've deleted wording. They deleted wording to say that concertadas are not recognised as part of the educational state system.
Joan Menor from Podemos,
yes,
the spokesperson for education.
It's a corker, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, she said, not a single euro will be allocated to the elitist school that segregates by sex. Whoever wants to take their children in a fundamentalist and sexist delusion to these centres will have to pay for it with their own money. Interesting.
Yeah, so hardly a surprise. I think most of the, so we say, right of centre parties, I think the PP, Ciudadanos and Vox have all said they intend to take both these issues to the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court in Spain has ruled that the concertada model and the single-sex segregation model in education is a legitimate model that can be recognised by the state. Furthermore, the idea of co-official and official languages, or the vehicular language of the state being Spanish, is enshrined in the Constitution. It is a duty and a responsibility of each citizen to be able to master and use the Castilian, the Spanish language, effectively. And that, once again, brings us to the conclusion of, can I just say, another crazy week in the life of living in Spain.
Yeah, before we finish though, I mean, having listened to all of that news, you're probably going to want some beer. So we should mention again
you're just professional on this level. Go for it.
Adopt a brewery. We mentioned last week our friends at Orrio Minero, and
Yes.
I think we also mentioned Líquidos, but
We
I'd
did.
just like to repeat that mention because they've just had a new delivery of beers. And I've been salivating over the selection they have. It is incredible. They've got just go to Líquidos. You can find them on Facebook.
We'll put
go
some
to our
links.
page.
We'll put some links on the podcast. And
They
the
do
YouTube
home
links.
deliveries. You can pop in there and collect them yourself. You can drink in there still while it's legal. But yeah, check them out.
That's us. Until next week, stay safe and remember,
You only
you only have